shoulder stretching exercises. Today we are going to dive in and teach you the best little routine that you can do in under 5 minutes. We're going to talk about some advanced and beginner stuff, and we're also going to talk about the strategy and the most beneficial strategies around improving shoulder pain. All that and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name is Rad Burmeister. This is my younger and less attractive brother Yanni Burmeister, and together we are Unity Gym, the gym that teaches you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. And we're the co-founders and co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, formerly known as the Foundation Movement System. How you doing today, Yanni?
I'm good. I just realised I'm in my training gear because I was about to do a training session after this, and I forgot to get in my usual uniform.
Oh, well, there you go. That's how it is.
But I'm good. Yeah.
Today we are going to show you, we've had some amazing engagement on these 5-minute mobility routines, or fix this problem in 5 minutes a day. Apparently everybody wants a quick fix. So, so we're going to continue with that. We're going to continue showing you how you can completely transform your body in only 5 minutes a day. No, we are going to show you some really cool stuff, and I'll tell you why this stuff works. We're really big on not selling bullshit. We feel very strongly that and we used to do this stuff ourselves, you know, like we got caught up in the hype, and we got taught that, you know, good marketing strategies are, you know, 30-day shreds and 90-day challenges and all this stuff. And, you know, yeah, it's a good marketing strategy to get people into your gym, I guess, but the truth is it's just not where the magic happens. And so we've really done a flip on the way that we do things, and our value promise is that we will completely transform your body and transform your life, but it's going to take time, and you're going to have to do daily work. And what that's all about is not going on a diet. It's not about doing a 30-day challenge. It's about creating daily habits that you can continue for the rest of your life, because fitness is a journey. It ain't about a destination. It's not about working really, really, really hard and dieting for 90 days so that you reach a journey, because all that does is this, where you lose weight and start looking really good, and then you put it all back on and start feeling shit, and then you just keep going through that. So this is where these 5-minute little things come into play, though, because there's a big difference. I'm getting recentered here. There's a big difference between flexibility and mobility training. Flexibility is all about stretching and working to create a new range of motion, and it takes a lot of work to do good flexibility training. You have to dedicate, you know, I'd say a minimum of 30 minutes a day, up to maybe even, you know, an hour and a half a day, depending on how bad your routine is, your body is. Mobility, on the other hand, are things that you do where you basically just take your body through full range of motion. And by doing that, you maintain the level of flexibility you've got. And even if you don't do any stretching, you'll gradually improve your mobility. Our whole 18-minute stretching routine is really just a mobility routine for the entire body, but it can be manipulated and changed to turn it into a stretching routine if you give it more time. So anyway, these 5-minute routines that we're showing you, that you've been seeing this last week and that we're going to show you today, it's all about doing mobility training. It's all about just keeping what you've already got and making sure that you don't lose it and you're edging your way forward. And this is where so many people get it wrong. They think, oh, I don't have half an hour or an hour to do this big stretching session, so I'm not going to do anything. Wrong. That is not how to get better. You should do something every day. And if all you've got is 5 minutes, in 5 minutes you can definitely be making sure that you're moving forward and getting more flexible over time and stopping your body from getting to those aches and pains.
Good. Wow. That was intense.
Well, you know why it's intense? Because it's the first fucking time that I had a rant at the start of an episode instead of you. Welcome to my shoes, mate.
Settle down. Let's take it down a notch. He's passionate today. I don't know really where to go from there.
Let's go out in the gym for him.
You guys are amazing. Keep up the good work, and thank you. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Lycos970. Hopefully I've said your name right, brother.
Raid in. We were on mute at the start. We just get our stuff organised and make sure that we got a stream. We have sometimes it's hard going live with internet issues and things like that, so we like to just make sure that the stream is going before we start, and that's why we sometimes have a little bit of a lag period there, because we're just testing that the internet's working fine. So let's get out on the gym floor if Richie's ready with the gimbal cam, and we'll dive in. Now, I don't have a mic, so unfortunately you're going to hear Rad even more now.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Richie's coming out. So what we're going to be doing today is teaching you guys what you can do in 5 minutes a day to really open your shoulders up and keep your shoulders healthy and your spine as well. And it all starts with some a physio ball pec minor release. The pec minor is a major cause of shoulder problem because the pec minor connects to the 3rd, 4th and 5th rib and goes up under the shoulder and connects to the top of the scapula. What happens is when it's tight is it pulls the shoulders forward. And if the shoulders are being pulled forward like this, then when you try to do overhead flexibility, you get shoulder impingements.
Can I just dive in and say something here? In the Strength Essentials course that we've just created and launched, I go into detail about body positioning when we're lifting weights and we're exercising. And one of the key areas that I talk about is the shoulder girdle. The shoulder naturally, if we see Rad's shoulder blade here,
they're probably not going to be able to hear me very well unless I'm here.
It's all right. Bring your arm up behind. I want to see your shoulder blade. I want you to pop your shoulder blade out. Yep. So reach behind. Yep. Okay. So you can see that mass of bone and muscle tissue there is his shoulder blade, or otherwise known as the scapula. That is his shoulder. That's the joint itself. The humerus just sits on a really shallow dish inside that shoulder blade, and the entire structure is this loose structure, only stabilized by the rotator cuff on the inside, and then the pec minor, the pecs, the delts, and the traps and the rhomboids at the back there. And so what happens is...
Even the long head of the bicep as well.
And the long head of the bicep a little bit too. This is inherently a very unstable joint. And it relies heavily on anatomical structural balance, which we talk about in that Strength Essentials course. If you have an anatomical structural imbalance, a deformity of any of the muscles here, then it is pulling that shoulder out of its optimal position, starting position. And any deviation of that starting position there, it changes the space that these tendons and muscles have to operate in, particularly the rotator cuff. And you've got a tendon called the supraspinatus, which pretty much runs underneath the upper trap here. It goes under the clavicle here, where the collarbone joins onto the top of the shoulder blade here. It runs under there into the top of the humerus. And if this muscle system is all pulled forward and out of place, you end up with swelling and you end up with a dysfunction in there that can cause impingement on the tendons. And it can perforate and start breaking down the tendons, causing tears and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's very, very important that the shoulder sits in place. And one of the primary culprits of pulling that out of place is that pec minor that Rad's about to demonstrate how to release here. So if there was like one thing that you did on a regular basis, if you train a lot, if you do calisthenics, CrossFit,
if you work at a desk?
If you work at a desk even, because we're sitting there and our body adapts to that position that it's most frequently put in. If you're a big bench presser or you like doing pressing movements at the gym, all of these things and environments are pulling that shoulder forward out of place. So we have to combat that by releasing the muscles and the tendons here and strengthening what's going on in the upper back. So Rad, you can...
So the pec minor, you can Google it, but it's commonly misunderstood how to release it. The best way to release it, if you, on a man, for a woman obviously you need to move your breasts to the side, and that's going to be, different for every woman, but if it's still the same spot where you're going to go. For a man, if you go from where your nipple is, which is right there for me, and you go up a couple of inches, so it's a couple of inches above the nipple or a little bit of a shorter space below the clavicle there, below the acromion process, that's the point where you're going to start. And then from there, we're going to roll downwards like that, so that we're actually rolling across the muscle fibers. And the way I do that is to get down on the floor. By moving my arm up into this position, it gets the pec major out of the way, and then I'm going to lay on it and roll to the side. And it's a real kind of a feeling if you've got a tight pec minor, which I do. This is something that's quite tight for me. Yanni and me from decades of martial arts training, our shoulders were very rounded forward, and it takes a lot of time to get that out of the way. So just by doing that for say 30 seconds on each side every day, if we're talking about a 5-minute routine here, of course you could do that for 3 or 4 minutes on each side easily, but if we're talking about a 5-minute routine, if you just did that for 30 to 60 seconds on each side, that's just going to be unbelievable for you. So that's the first thing that we're going to do in this routine. The next thing, because this whole routine is all about the shoulders and the spine, it's your upper body, it's what's going on in your upper body. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at a little bit of a spine mobilization and neck mobilization. We're going to break the spine and the neck, even though the neck is a part of the spine, we're going to break it into 2 areas. As a beginner, we do some much more advanced spine mobilization in our stretching routines, like our 18-minute stretching routine and stuff. Like we do spinal waves like this, we do neck circles like this, we do thoracic circles, and then you're mixing it all together. So there's a whole lot of really cool stuff that we do. But at the most basic level, if you don't have very good control over your spine, I've found that this is the best way to do it. And what we're going to do is you're just going to cross your hands over your shoulders, tuck your chin into your chest, just so that I'm not muffling the mic. I'm not going to tuck my chin into my chest while I do this. And then from here, I'm going to go as far forward as I can into flexion, then as far into lateral flexion as I can, then as far into rotation, and then I'm going to go back into extension, and then I'm going to rotate over to the other side, and then go into lateral flexion, and then back down into forward flexion. But I'm going to do that in a smooth, slow motion. So I'm going to go down.
Demonstrate what it would look like with your chin tucked in.
Okay, so here we go. And I do between 3 and 5 reps on each side with that. You can see the reason why I'm tucking my chin in is because I want to really get some isolation through my lumbar and thoracic spine, and I really want to feel that I'm going as far as I possibly can in every direction. This isn't a fast thing that you do. The idea is that when you do mobility, you're trying to go to your joint's full range of motion, as far as the joint will allow you to go. And that's all about trying to get the last little centimeter or 10 millimeters or half an inch if you're in America. You're not, it's all about, if I can get my arm to here comfortably, then if I can push it to there, that's what's creating the mobility, and that's what's training your mobility. So that's for your spine. Now if we go into the neck is basically, I'm just going to keep from here down still, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go forward, to the left, around the back, turn to the right, and then down like that. And I'm just doing circles like that. So I'll do 3 to 5 on each side. Some more advanced stuff, it's not advanced, it's for a beginner still, but it's so much harder to develop. You really have to practice this, would be mandible circles. So the mandible of the jaw. Again, this is a beautiful routine that I learned from Ido Portal. And from here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look down here so that when I have my hands together and bring my hands back against my chest, touch my fingers to my jaw, and then I'm going to bring them out to the side a bit. And now in my peripheral vision, because I'm looking down, I'm not tilting my head down, I'm just looking down. I can actually see those fingers when I go back like this, okay? So now from here, what I'm going to do is go to the side until my jaw touches the finger, and then back to the other side. Now this is, people stuff this up all the time. The biggest mistake I see people do is they go like this. What are your fingers doing? What's the point of them even being there? You're not holding a imaginary picture frame in the air. What we want to do is, the whole idea is that your hands are against your body and your fingers are set in space. So it doesn't matter where my head moves, my fingers are there. And that's a reference point. So when you start, you might only be like half an inch away, and that might be all you can get. And then as you get better, you can move your fingers out and push that little bit further. And again, what we're trying to do is go as far as you possibly can, and then back to the center. And what you're doing is, we're not moving the shoulders at all, we're not turning the head, and we're not tilting the jaw to get there. You're keeping your head completely straight, so doing it in front of a mirror is good. The next one you can do is just forward and back. Much easier to do, okay? So you're just pushing the jaw as far forward as it can and as far back as you can. And then you can do neck circles, where you go from left, forward, right, back, and you just do circles like that. Now, that in itself to learn, when I learned how to do that, honestly, I couldn't barely move my neck more than a centimeter. I was like this, going, and I just couldn't move it, and it was straining all the muscles in my neck. But I practiced for about 5 to 10 minutes a day just on that until I got better at it. Now that I can do it, obviously I don't need my fingers anymore. That's a basic way of doing it. I mean, I can just do, for 5 or 10 seconds, I can do a couple of neck circles, and that's my mobility training in my neck. So that's the neck and spine. We've released the pec minor. Now we're going to jump up and do...
Just demonstrate spine moving on here.
Okay, so, well, you can demonstrate it. I'll talk them through it.
So we've got 3...
Well, do you want me to talk them through it?
Yep.
So we've got 3 spine ways of doing thoracic spine mobilization here. This is the most gentle one. So Yanni's going to lay down on the foam roller here. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to work on thoracic mobility, which means the foam roller should be somewhere in between his rib cage. So from the bottom of the rib cage up to the top of the rib cage. We don't want to go up on the neck. And all he's doing is extending as far as he can and then doing like an ab crunch, okay? You can do different positions with your hands. You can put your hands back like what Yanni's doing. You can put your hands near behind your head as well like this, or near the ears. And what you can do as well is you can roll the body down a little bit or roll the body back this way a little bit so that you are going on it, like the point that the foam roller is on your rib cage is going to change the way this works. You don't want to just sit on the same point, okay? Now, the next one we're going to go is these back balls. And the back balls are unreal because what they do is you sit them on either side of the spine. So if you imagine the way that Yanni's got this set up is this is his spine in the middle and the back balls have gone here. And it's a similar movement, but what this does is it's a much more isolated and aggressive way. There's a smaller point. So these are both different. I wouldn't say one is easier than the other. This is more aggressive in the sense that it's a smaller point, but then that's more aggressive because it keeps your back off the ground and allows you to flex over it more. So they both work in a different way. But the idea is that what this does is it pushes one vertebra forward. So your vertebra is sitting on, sorry, you're in my way. Your vertebrae are sitting on top of each other like this. This is your spine. It's all made up of different vertebrae here. And what this is doing is it's creating mobility in one vertebra. What Yanni's doing there where he rolls back and forward, that's kind of more to give yourself a little bit of a massage. But when he just lays like this and goes back and forward, he's really getting mobility in each individual joint in the spine. It's an amazing way to do it. So that's another really good tool that you can use for the spine and for the shoulders. This is a big part. Again, it's something that people are really bad on. People who have a lot of forward rounded posture, which means that they have weak thoracic extension. So the next thing we'll do...
We'll link these in the description.
Yeah, we'll link them in the description so you can get them on Amazon if you want. The next one we can do, and this is the biggest bang for your buck thing that you can do for your upper body by a long shot. If there was nothing else that you could do in a day for your upper body and all you did was a bit of hanging, this is just amazing.
Just explain, if you've got quite bad shoulder impingement, then the wider the grip, the less stressful this is going to be.
If you've got, I'm sure you heard Yanni say that.
The other thing is that if you do have...
You can also, they won't be able to hear you, I'll explain it. If you've got really weak, really tight shoulders and really bad shoulder impingement, you can get up on like this, like what Yanni's doing, so your feet are supported there, like that. And on an incline, like what Yanni's doing.
So wide on an incline is the easiest way to do it.
And then when you go...
And then we can bring the arms in and go more...
Yeah, and when you go to a dead hang like that, that makes it harder. And then another easy way to do it is if you do active. So if you pull like that's actually less pressure on the shoulders like that. There's more pressure on your shoulders if you're just doing the passive hang. And then the last thing, which is by a long shot the most... Yanni loves this single arm one as well. This is a really good one where you just have your feet supported like this and you rotate around from side to side, okay? And then the last one we'll do, if we come down, we might run out of range. Hey, so we might just do it here.
Dropped out, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, you're kidding.
We're recording it, just keep going.
Okay, so we're just going to come down here now and do the skin the cat. Yanni, we might do it up here anyway because that might run out of range from the, even though we've lost our connection. So, what we're...
Skin the cat on here.
Yeah, you'll be able to do it. Just do it with bent knees. So Yanni's this is the most advanced thing we're going to do today. And as a beginner, we've got some really good progressions with this in our UMS online. So there's a lot of ways you can progress towards this, but we'll just show you the full skin the cat so that you understand what it is that we're doing here. So Yanni's going to do this with knees bent, which is the easier version. He's going to go all the way through and down into what's called a German hang, and then he's going to come back, and you can just do reps like that. This is a straight arm strength movement, which means the elbows are meant to stay completely straight, and he's relying on the muscles that connect to the scapula to create this movement. The reason why this is so good is because it takes your shoulder through its full range of motion. You're going to full extension as far as the body allows, thanks Yanni, and starting from full flexion as well. And then you're doing it with active mobility. So you're activating the muscles to pull yourself through rather than passive mobility, which would just be, you know, having an external force pull your arm back. So that's it. Let's go back in and we'll wrap this up. And yeah, so that's it, guys. That's the big, that's your 5-minute routine that you can do. Of course, it takes longer to explain it, but if you just did it yourself, if you just work through it, you know, once you understand how to do those movements, then you can definitely get that stuff done in 5 minutes a day. And of course, when we say 5 minutes, that's if you're time poor. If you want to allow yourself 10 minutes to do it, then do so and spend a bit more time and you'll get a bigger result.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, these things here and the mobbing drills are hands down some of the best things that you'll ever do. And as Rad sort of spoke about out there, just the daily habit of going into doing some spinal mobbing. Why is spine so important for the shoulder and why is neck so important for the shoulder? It's all linked together. You've got to look at it from a holistic standpoint. If you've got a locked up spine through the thoracic and cervical, it's going to wreak havoc on your shoulders. And you won't be able to optimize the shoulder movement without releasing the spine. It all really starts with the spine, I would say, you know. So what we're doing there with the hanging, that's decompressing the spine, decompressing the shoulder joint. And then these tools that we've got here, which you can pick up for a few bucks on Amazon, are brilliant. And that's, I'd say, like one of the most important daily routines that you could possibly do. Decompressing, that what we just did there coupled with the squat routine is like gold standard for keeping a nice healthy posture, keeping nice healthy shoulders, nice healthy hips and pelvis.
Yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So sorry that the...
Don't, because they're not going to watch that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care.
Have a good day.
See you soon. Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, that's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that
It's
far.
the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.